right, hello everyone. Welcome to this special On the Market where we are coming to you on Halloween to tell you some of our scariest, I don't even know, are they scary, spooky horror stories from real estate for this Halloween 2022? And today I have Kathy Fecky, otherwise known as Megan, today. We also have Henry Washington, who I think just has a poop emoji on his hat. That's your costume. And James with, how would you describe that?
Comfortable.
Warm. And I unfortunately did not know we were doing this today. But first, Henry, what do you got for us?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So this is foreshadowing. Because most of my spooky stories have to do with the poo being everywhere but where you would expect it to be. So one deal I looked at was a multifamily. I think it was 8 or 12 units. I can't remember. And obviously it smelled terrible, but we couldn't find where the smell was coming from, and we were walking through there, and there was there was stuff everywhere, which is a lot of the times what we see. They look like hoarders. People were living there. It looked like hoarders were living there, and we're walking, and like the floor's a little slick, but I mean, based on what you're seeing everywhere, that's what you expect. And it's dark. It wasn't very well lit because they called it like an 8 or 12 unit, but that's because some of the units were just makeshift and there was no exterior walls and there wasn't proper drainage. And so anyways, we're trying to find the smell. We're walking through. It's looking a little slick. It's a little dark. The walls are like red. They're painted red. It's weird. And so we turn on the flashlight and look down, and it's slick because that's where the poo is. It's just everywhere. Because people.
Why?
Because the toilet's too far, Dave. Like, who's got time to go all the way to the bathroom?
It's a long hike. Wow.
It was a lot of work to get there. And so at that point, we sped up our tour a little bit. And to keep it moving, but we did see there was poo on the counter and in the sink, and I don't even know that I saw a toilet, which would explain why that's where it all was.
Did you buy the house though?
Absolutely not. We did not buy that.
Okay.
Did not. Okay. But not because of the poo. Like, poo is a thing. Like, it doesn't scare us away. It can be cleaned. We didn't buy it because it had makeshift rooms that it were calling units that were just other units cut up and weren't permitted or appropriate. And so you need to go look at everything, even if it means you got to walk in poo.
All right. That's a great lesson. Okay, Kathy, what's your horror story?
Oh, well, Megan is my alter ego.
Megan.
So, yes. Mm-hmm. Now you know. Well, and today I'm a fairy. I am an onion fairy, which basically means that back in 2009, there was foreclosures everywhere. Any of you who experienced that, we'd go to cities like Indianapolis or Atlanta. You'd have rows and rows and rows of foreclosed houses with, boards on them to keep vagrants from coming in, but vagrants would still come in and generally light fires and do a lot of crack and whatever else they were doing. So if you were buying a foreclosure, as you know, sometimes you can't go in and see, and you can't see what's in there when it's boarded up, usually came with dead bodies. And that was always a problem because, sad for the person. Because there's a dead body.
That's the first problem.
But a problem.
Some people don't know what happens when people die, but there's a lot of fluid that just releases into the flooring. And you can't get that smell out. I'm really grossing people out. But when people would say that smell of foreclosure, that's kind of what they meant. And so we found out, as the onion fairy, that if you bring buckets of chopped onions and put it on the floor where the smell is, it soaks it all up. And this is the only way to get the smell out. So now you know.
Like you pour the onions out on the floor, or you just leave the bucket?
You cover the floor with onions, chopped onions.
So beware of any house that has onions on the floor.
Yes,
if you
beware of
go in
onions.
there.
And also
How
beware
did
of
you learn
onions.
that?
From
Did you
my-
just try different vegetables until it worked?
I think one of my partners at the time actually Googled it. I don't know. I think you can Google it.
I would never Google that. You're going to go on an FBI watch list if you're like, how do you cover smell of dead body? It's like, you're getting sent to the FBI immediately.
Your new business partner, that's what they bring to the table. They know how to get rid of the antifreeze smells. You're like,
Oh, I got this.
void the agreement.
Oh, dear.
What was I thinking?
Davy Crockett, Daniel Boone. I don't know. Who's the guy who wore that hat?
Baby cry.
Yeah. What do you got?
So we've bought a lot of nasty houses over the years, all sorts of different stories. Actually, recently we bought one where we found a bottle of human teeth in it, which was creepy because I thought I bought the Tooth Fairy's house. But
What's creepy about that, James? It's totally normal.
Totally normal. It just need the onions. I need the onions ASAP. But the creepiest thing that I ever found was, I think I was 24 years old. I was out door knocking. It's like 9 o'clock at night, rainy, cold, dark night. I drive out to a property, long driveway, creepy, abandoned looking house. Bang on the door, hoarder house stacked to the brim. And it was a guy. And I remember he opened the door and he had one little lantern in there, or like little light bulb. Mattresses all over the floor, and he was sleeping in his living room, which is kind of bizarre because it was a big house. And so we ended up talking. Randomly, he was an old executive that had made a lot of money at some point, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm just ready to sell. My wife had just passed away. Let's just get this done." So we actually make a deal right there. And then the whole time we open up escrow, and the whole time he starts messaging me asking about, "Hey, did you get the death certificate?" Because it was that new of a death. And did you find out the cause of death? And I'm like, why is this guy asking me about this? He should be asking me about, like, when am I giving him money, not, like, how did his wife die? Because she had passed away inside the house. But he was being very weird, and so we did kind of suspect some sort of foul play. But we ended up closing on it, and then everything went wrong. It was bad luck all the way around. We went over on our budget by double. Time frames went up. And then what the creepiest part was, as we were double on our time frames, I'm trying to get guys to get this finished. The market's starting to crash at this point. This is right before the 2008 crash. My guys there, I'm having them to work late, and they call me and they go, "Hey, look, we are leaving at 5 o'clock going forward. No more staying late." And I'm like, "You guys, help me out here. I'm going to get rocked by this house." And what had happened was they had left. It was getting to be dusk, and all of a sudden they started hearing all these like groaning noises from the inside of the house. And this is a true story. These guys were dead serious about telling me this. Because they
What
usually
kind
get
of
paid overtime.
groaning, James?
Well, so what they thought it was is there was a neighborhood dog that was running around, and they thought it got trapped in the house, and it was making noises like kind of like a groaning dog. And so they went and walked through this whole house. They're walking around the downstairs. This is like a 90-degree day too, summertime hot. And as they're walking around the house, they walk upstairs, and they said it was like 25 to 35 degrees, ice cold in the room where she had died. And when you went up there before we trashed it out, it was a creepy scene in general. She had her bed, and then she got hooked on QB. So actually what had happened was the neighbor told us they had a big party. She ran out, totally normal couple, slipped and fell on her driveway, cracked her head open, went insane for 2 years, and it was like a crazy ward at this house. She got hooked on ordering QVC items, online stuff, and to-go Chinese food and McDonald's food. And so when you went up to this room before we had trashed it out, it was just her bed piled with online shopping and garbage. And she would just eat and shop and throw it off to the side. And so she kind of legitimately went crazy. And so I think when she passed away, her demon stayed in the house because when they're up there, it was 25 degrees, and then they heard a huge bang. They go running out of the house, and they would not go back. It didn't matter if I was paying them overtime. They were terrified. Fast forward later, I ended up losing all of my money on this house. Like, the market crashed. I lost all my money. It was all bad. So I will never buy a ghost house ever again.
That was actually a haunted deal.
It was a haunted
Wow.
deal.
I thought I was gonna become the dead body, which was pretty
Okay,
terrifying.
that's-
Actually, I think I told you this story last week, Kathy, when we were at BPCon. But I had this property under contract, and I was sort of like still in negotiations for some concessions with the seller. And so I went over there with my agent, and there's the house, and then there's a detached garage, and we pulled up in the driveway. I'm just like sort of getting a look around. Never met the seller, never talked to him directly, but this guy comes out of the detached garage just completely dripping in fresh blood. Like, just from his shoulders down to his knees, just dripping in drenched blood. And I'm
Wow.
like, he's like probably 20, 30 yards away from me. I'm saying to my agent and my buddy, I was like, is he covered in blood? He's like, yeah, dude, he's definitely covered in blood. And I'm like, what do we do right now? And we're sort of like frozen. He starts walking towards us. And in both hands, he just has knives, like actual knives that are covered in blood. And I'm like, he's wearing an
Okay.
apron. And I'm like, this dude is Freddy Krueger. He's like coming at us right now. I was like, should we run? And he was like, I don't know, man. You're getting a screaming deal on this thing. We got to stay here. And I'm just like, okay, I guess we'll just stand here. And he just like comes over. I'm like so tense just standing over here. And he just like sticks out his hand covered in blood. He's like, hey, I'm Rob. And I was like, are you going to explain what's going on right now? He was like, oh, I just shot an elk. I'm just butchering it in the garage right now. I was like, oh. Okay. Maybe wash your hands or put down the knives. Either one.
Yeah, either one.
So, I don't know what the lesson is. Maybe stand your ground. I don't know. But it was by far the most scared I've ever been in a real estate deal. I thought I was going to get murdered.
And now you know how to butcher an elk.
You need to run next time.
I know,
Yes.
right? I should have. My instincts were off. But he's a great guy, actually. He comes over and like has helped me with the house several times because he was a builder, actually built the house himself from scratch and had like a lot of pride in the house and has like come over and helped me. So great guy. Terrifying entrance. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. Hopefully everyone out there, let us know if you in the comment section, make sure you let us know what your real estate horror stories are. There's always a lot of good ones. If you've been in this game long enough, you've gone through some very weird experiences. These are just a couple of them. Thank you all for listening. If you want to hear more from me, Kathy, Henry, and James, make sure to check out our incredible podcast. It's called On the Market. It comes out every Monday and Friday. You can find that on Spotify, Apple, or right here on YouTube. Just on the Market YouTube channel. You can just go to search that, or we'll put a link in the show below. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you all soon.